Greetings and salutations, my friends. Welcome to my full review for Football Manager 2026, or 26 as it's now called. Now, to give you a bit of a background, if you don't know who I am, my name's Loki. I've been making YouTube videos about Football Manager for about 8 years now. I've played every single version of the game because old. And I'm going to take you through it and give my honest thoughts, both the good and the bad. I'll be critical when it needs to be. I'll give praise when it is. So if you just want to watch this video, I'll try and keep it relatively short and just talk about the main talking points, and we'll get through it together. All right, let's see how good this game is. So I'm going to break this up into sections. This part of the video is going to be about the UI. Now, it's the single biggest change from previous Football Managers. We've been working with the same basic Football Manager for like 10 or so years, and they've decided to build this sort of tile and panel system where you can sort of get your main screen, you click on it, and sometimes it pops out with an overlay that you can just close and it will go back. Other times it's a full screen. Now, this is the most Marmite feature in Football Manager. Now, if you're a new player or you're considering buying it for the first time, you don't have any previous experience, so therefore the UI is brand new. It will be new to you, and the game is very hard to get into. Regardless of the UI, even if you jumped in previous years, it's a very difficult game to get into. You are overwhelmed with a number of stuff. Now, the UI, like I said, it's very, very Marmite. I personally, now I've got used to it, I've got over the hump of getting used to it from previous games, I like it. I think it works well. I think it's a good base. Now, there is problems with it. There is bugs within the UI. I'll have a separate section on bugs, but just know that there is some errors. Now, there's some parts of the game, like let's say I wanted to look at the league, that take too many clicks to get through now. It's like jump through too many hoops, jumping through menus to find something. There's areas that I feel like should be on different parts of the screen. Now, they have fixed some of those. There's sizing errors where the charts or anything doesn't quite match up with the panel, but I'll go through that in the bug section. This is more about the overall design. We've gone from this sort of left column where everything was there to this sort of full screen at the bit at the top. You can click or you just hover over the arrow and it will give you a drop down of all the sort of sub menus within that, or you can click on the main heading and it'll send you to like a home page of that stuff, and then all the little panels are clickable and you can deeper dive into it. I actually think it's absolutely fine. I actually quite like it. I think it's a step in the right direction. But again, this is probably the single thing in the game that's most you love it or you hate it. But I think for new players coming in, I think it's good. I think it's probably better than the previous one, and hopefully, being the first iteration, it's only going to get better. But like I said, and obviously it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, this review is completely just my opinion. You might actually just hate the UI and it's a game breaker for you, fair enough. But like I said, if you haven't got experience in the previous ones where we knew where everything was going into this one, if you're new, I think you'll find your way around better than before, because you can go to those home pages, it's all there, and it'll send you to the next deeper layer, so to speak. But I think overall UI, personally, I like it, and it's the foundation of something to come. So next, of the major features I want to talk about is tactics. Now, this is probably the biggest, sort of the second biggest after the UI, because that affects everything. The tactics have been reinvented somewhat for the first time in many years ever. Come on, we used to have little arrows. Let's not get bogged down in 20-year-old games. You now have an out-of-possession tactic and an in-possession tactic. Now, before, you would create a singular tactic and you would give those players roles and you would hope that that's what they get on with. But now, you can say, for instance, that out of possession, I want my defensive midfielder to just be in front of the defence and he's just there, right? Screening. But when we've got the ball and we're going forward, I want you to move up into central midfield to become a bit more of a creator, let's say. So I think it gives you a ton more flexibility with the tactics. I also think that The roles have changed quite a lot. There's new roles. There's also been renamed roles. So rather than all the fancy names and the Catanaccio and stuff like, what is that? The roles have been renamed to be lots of clearer and sort of self-explanatory of what they do. When you change a player's role to decide what you want to do with them, it'll say, hey, you want to play him as a defensive midfielder? Here's a list of 8 attributes that work well for that role. I think it's a massive, massive improvement. I think there's still things that can be tweaked. Sometimes when you're trying to make subs or you're changing your squad around, if you're on the wrong screen slightly, if you're looking at possession, you might swap a player over, but now in possession and out of possession are back to, you have to make sure you're on both, because you can sort of view individually or both. I think it's a really solid addition. I think it's much improved. Again, and we'll be talking about this a lot, I think it's got the foundation to be something exceptional, and it's definitely better than previous versions, and going forward it's only going to get better. So far, so good. We're flying. This could be the best game ever. Spoilers alert, it's not. But we'll get to that. We've been pretty positive so far about it, and it's only going to get more so. The match day experience. I'm encompassing everything about the match day, the graphics itself, the coding, and how it all works together, how what you've got shows on the screen, okay? From the sort of pre-kickoff all the way through. And it is a massive upgrade. Now, of course, it's not, if you're coming into this thinking you're playing EAFC and it's like, well, graphics look rubbish. Yeah, okay. It's not groundbreaking graphics, right? It's not, oh my God, the realism. Like, very few of the players look like themselves in real life. But for us oldies, it's a massive improvement. And I don't need it to be exceptionally graphically intensive and amazing and, you know, ray tracing and stuff for all the puddles and everything like that. I need it to look like a representation of my squad that I've built and my tactic that I built on the pitch. And it does an amazing job at that. Now, also, one of my biggest, if you've been around watching me for a while, you'll know my biggest hatred was the backgrounds. Now, it's not a big thing, but the backgrounds around the stadium for years, like, you know, the car park in the distance or the trees and houses and stuff in the distance, it used to be like horrific, like sort of cardboard cutout trees and all sorts of stuff. And it looks so much better. Again, it's not going to blow you away, but comparatively, it's a massive improvement. There is still a couple of things that can be improved. I also think we need to play it for a lot longer to see if there's any sort of broken tactics or tactics that just won't work that probably should, or tactics that are completely overpowered. There is some sort of what I would call player glide, which is the players sort of slide across. They're not running, but they're sort of moving like as if they're sort of just sliding across like a Dalek a little bit. Sometimes there's some shadows I feel like there's missing. Some of the player decisions, even for like really terrible players, just make zero sense. But that's all tweaks with the match engine. But the best thing for me is that I feel like I can see my tactic in possession and out of possession on the pitch, which is the key to it all. And if I've got like a guy with 15 dribbling, 18 flair, and his bit of pace, before, okay, he'd do well in games and he'd go past people and stuff, but you wouldn't feel it. You wouldn't feel like you were watching like Ronaldo or Messi or something. But now, you know, he stands up defenders, he drops the soldier, he's doing little flick-ons, a little flick around the corners, a cheeky back heel. It's made me want to sign everybody with 18 flair just to see, even centre-backs. I want to see all the weird and wonderful tricks they do. It is a huge improvement, and what you'll see from, I mentioned it in a previous video, is that the critics of the game, which there are many, including me, we'll get to this stuff. I'm going down in order. They'll complain about the UI or the bugs or the immersion and all that sort of stuff, and just won't mention the fact that the match day is just so much better than it was. It's so much better. And this is the first iteration of this sort of from transferring over. So, like, double thumbs up. We are flying. 10 out of 10. Game of the year, my friends. The only problem I have with the match engine is the little screen that pops up between highlights. Okay? It shows you basic stats, your team, how they're getting on, the ratings, fitness and stuff, and then it's got like a little 2D screen with dots that run around, and if you've got the game speed really high, it's like, but it gives you sort of flow of the game. And if you just look at that briefly, you go, okay, yeah, that's cool. But my biggest problem, and this is big, I've had a massive problem with FM for many, many years. This screen should be the singular most customizable screen in the entire game, and it's just not. You know, you can show your formation in possession, out of possession, and then just a list. You can show the league table, but you have to make a couple of clicks, and then it jumps up and covers one of the sides. You can't turn off, I think, at the moment, the 2D dots. Like, I quite like it, because I don't watch it closely, but you kind of see a flow of the match. But there's very few things you can actually see. I can't see heat maps or pass maps during the game. Okay, where are our outlet balls? How's this going? And for some reason, there's just no customization. I would like to be able to add anything into that screen. It should be like each of those little sections have a drop-down box that you can select. Right, that's what I want to see. I want to see these. I want to see my player ratings. I want to see fitness in this, or how happy they currently are on the pitch, because there's no shouts at the moment. So I just feel like that's just a mistake they've made for so many years. The main reason why skins are so popular and have been so popular for the last 10 years is because they redo that screen. Just hire some of those guys that make those skins. It would be so much better. And for the love of God, just make it customizable and make it so you can, I don't want to see all the dots flying around on the 2D pitch. Let people delete that or remove that or hide that. Change it to something else. That's the only main problem that I have with the matchday experience. But like I said, overall, it's a great thing. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. Now, positive vibes, isn't it? It's positive vibes. Let's change it up. So before I get to my main set of problems, I'm going to briefly touch on the bugs and annoyances of this version of FM. It's been the buggiest game for a number of years. It's a little bit unfair to just include early access or the beta phase that we had 2 weeks before, because that's literally what it is. It's not a finished product. But then we had release day, which didn't have a release day patch for the first time in gaming history, it feels like. That was delayed a day or two. And it is very buggy. It still is quite buggy. There's lots of... And there was major issues with crashes before. Obviously, crashes are like the thing to fix first. Problems with network games and crashes. And while a lot of that has been remedied, there still is people with issues. And it's not just... And there's lots of little bugs. Some screens don't work. It sends you back to the wrong screen. There's a list as long as your arm about little bugs and annoyances. And the annoyances mainly come from sort of the problems with the UI not working correctly, the boxes being the wrong shape, showing the wrong sort of chart. The data hub is, much like FM24 when it came out, kind of broke. There's lots of just absolute errors in that. There's lots of bits where the text doesn't fit. Now, to SI's credit, they are squishing bugs like there's no tomorrow. They are fumigating the place because it's infested. So obviously, the state, I don't want to go into the state of modern gaming, but it just seems to be somehow we have to accept nowadays that games don't come out complete, which is ridiculous, but it seems to be you look at the No Man's Skies or the Starfields or Cyberpunks, and it's just like, we had to get it out of this state, so deal with it and we'll fix it as we go. Now, that's bad, but Sports Interactive have committed to a weekly patch schedule. They have... Even the most harshest critic will say that the amount of bugs they fixed, obviously they shouldn't exist in the first place, but the amount of bugs they fixed has been great, and they're communicating with us, which is fantastic. And I see sort of in the next couple of months that nearly everything will be gone, and we'll have a bug-free game. Again, not acceptable that you come out with a finished product that's got bugs in it, but it's kind of just the way gaming is nowadays. You just have to suck it up. Now, I'm going to have to change screen for this one because I need info. Right. This is where it all falls down a little bit, to be honest. This is, I think, above bugs and stuff that can be fixed. By far, and away the single biggest problem with FM26 by a mile, and I'm going to umbrella it on the term immersion. Now, when people, we've all had it. When you talk about Football Manager to a friend that doesn't play, or somebody sees you playing it, they see a big spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet of football. Like, it's just absolute nerd porn, right? And true it is. To a certain extent it is. But what they don't realise, and the people that play the game realise, is it's not an Excel spreadsheet, it's an RPG. Football Manager is an RPG. And now what RPGs need is immersion, okay? You can't have it take away all the flavour of something and just leave yourself with the numbers. And yes, the match engine's lovely and stuff, but then in between each game week, you've got lots of stuff to be getting on with, lots of stuff to check out. And the problem is, so much of it has been removed. Now, this is a list by the epically named Fluffy Coconuts on the Football Manager Reddit, because I've got a terrible memory. I've noticed a lot of these things missing, but I was never going to remember them, so I thought I'd give credit where it's due. Now, some of these, you'll see, have been crossed out because they've been reintroduced or fixed and stuff, so that's good. Now, we don't know, before we go into this list, we have to scroll down. We don't know how much of these things are going to be, along with the patches to fix bugs, how much of this stuff is going to be added over the course of next year, or will we have to wait until the next version of FM? We'll go into that deeper in my final thoughts. But let's just have a quick look. So this has been updated. Okay, so this is getting constantly updated, I believe so, constantly updating. So ability to reload skin, ability to clear cache, ability to change attribute colors, setting to choose where your back button goes. I'm not going to read all these out because you can pause the video, but it's an exhaustive list. As you can see, some things have been crossed out because they've been proved. For instance, the ability to compare players. Let's say you want to sign a new centre-back and you're going to go for Joe Bloggs or Joe Smith. And they're both transfer listed for 100k. So you're like, well, the obvious thing is to compare them. Now, when the game came out, you couldn't compare them. You could only compare... I don't think you can compare at all. Or could you only compare them to players in your team? Which is a valid compare. Right now, though, you can only compare players to players from your team or players that you have on a shortlist. However, that's still not enough because these two centre-backs, I don't necessarily want to shortlist everybody I'm remotely interested in looking at. I just want to be able to compare any player with any player. And so they've sort of fixed it a little bit, but there's bits missing. Now, there's, like I said, pass maps, heat maps, ability to end individual training, ability to change loadout colours. There's lots. None of the missing things are game breaking, but most of these things are immersion breaking. My favourite example is a cup draw. It's a simple thing. It's not even like you have any control over it. I'm playing as Ebbs Fleet, and I've somehow, luckily, managed to get to the FA Cup third round. Now, if I draw Man United away, we got cash. We got that's a year's worth of expenses sorted. We might be able to even buy a player for actual money. That's a big deal. In my role-playing mind, because I'm role-playing a manager, I'm like, come on, cup draw. Previous versions, it wasn't the most beautiful thing in the world. It was just column A, column B, and you press start, and you can skip through them or whiz through them, or you can watch the draw. It was just names out of a hat at random. Obviously, that's what a cup draw is. You don't have any control over it. But the fact it's missing means essentially, let's say I win that second round, and I'm in the third round draw, and all I get is just an email saying, "Oh, you drew Wimbledon away." That is, or I draw Man United away. It takes you out of the game. It breaks the immersion of watching that draw, seeing all the teams come out. So, oh, Newcastle have gone. I would have loved to have drawn them. That would have been cash. And that's just an example. But there's so many of these things that have been taken out. Now, some people say that it's been dumbed down for console versions, right? That's not the reason. That's not the reason, right? I don't have any backroom knowledge of Sports Interactive, but I can guarantee what the reason is. There was a game that was then delayed because this big move to Unity is taking years longer than they thought it was going to. They're like, oh God, okay. They got to some sort of stage at the end of last year and was like, this is not good enough, or we don't want to do it. They probably started parts again. They've talked about it. The fact it just wasn't what they wanted. And fair play to them. I'll give them credit when they cancelled the game, because a lot of gaming companies will just like flop out an absolute turd of a game. But they were like, we'll take the hit, we'll cancel the game. But that doesn't suddenly mean they've got unlimited time to fix it, right? So they've gone then through this year, and what they've basically done is they've chopped off all the frills, all of these things. Everything here, some of them are small fixes, but some of them are going to take a few weeks' work or get them to work. So a lot of them are connected to other things. So if you did that, you couldn't do that. And, you know, all these things, like ability to change attribute colors, which we now have. So this is not a fully updated lift. There's going to be some that are here. But my point being, to get a viable product out in November, they realised, and yes, everybody can comment that they've had years to make this game and all that sort of stuff like that. Whatever the problems were, it doesn't matter. Essentially, we're at this point where they were like, okay, we can't delay again after we cancelled or cancelled the last one. That would be horrendous. This game has to come out in November. So they basically, I imagine, let's pretend, they all sat in a big room saying, right, what is needed to make the game work? What can we just get finished so it's playable and it's a decent enough game that we can get that out, and then we can add all the frilly bits and the fun bits and the immersion and the role-playing bit back into the game. And that's what happened. It's not to do with the console version. These things were all missing from FM26. They were in FM24, which is also on the console. Okay, so it's not like, oh, they've dumbed it down for that. They basically had to refine the product to get it out for market. Now, the problem with that is we've ended up with a more spreadsheety game. I'm lucky because I have a vivid imagination and I do stupid things in my save, like use the wages I'm earning to go onto Google and actually look at houses to buy and countries to move. I make my own fun, so to speak. So, and everybody plays Football Manager different. Like, for instance, if they decided in this list of stuff that's missing that they took out training. Like, it exists in the game, but you don't have any control over it. I wouldn't care less. I don't do general training. I just can't be bothered with it, okay? So that wouldn't affect me at all. But there'd be a lot of people that would be an actually almost game breaker to, because they love that aspect of the game. So there's going to be some things in here that you won't care about, that I care about, and there'll be some things that I care about that you won't care about. But the fact of the matter is, there is too much missing from the game to feel like you're playing an all-encompassing managerial role-playing game, which is what we all want. So that does then beg the question, which will go on to the final thoughts. So in this section, we're just going to quickly summarise the sections we talked about, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. Remember, this is just my opinion. It's not wrong or right. Well, it's right because it's my opinion, but it doesn't mean it's right for you. Everybody values different parts of the game differently. We talked about the UI. I personally like it. I think it's fine. I think it'll improve over time. I think it's a good first step. And now I've got used to it and where most things are. And the search functionality is much better. Like it. Tactics, I adore. I'm having so much fun. And it's mostly going wrong, but I'm having so much fun developing new tactics, trying weird and wonderful tactics out with various different teams to see how it works and if I can break it, or if my brain will come up with the next wonder tactic. It's never happened. I don't know why I even said that. That's never happened. But you know what I mean? Experimentation. It allows you for so much more tactical nuance. Absolutely love it. The match day experience. Love it. There is definitely improvements that can be made, especially with the in-between highlights. But overall, as a first go at this, I think it's massively improved. The bugs, while annoying in the beta and the first sort of week or so of and there is still plenty around now, but I can live with them. I'm lucky that I don't really seem to get any game crashes. I've had maybe one, but and I did. Oh, fun one. Just if you hadn't noticed, I was playing in the Champions League final with Liverpool, and we went to penalties, and then the game just hung. Show the courage of your conviction and leave no room for regret. We're winners. Oh, penalty shootout in the Champions League. No, not like this. Not like this. Not like, hello? No. Oh my God. Can't be. Am I going to have to instant result the penalties? I guess I have no control. That wouldn't necessarily make too much difference. I really would have liked to have seen a penalty. I can't believe the game's just done this. I can't believe you've done that. They were still walking about and stuff, but no penalties took place, so I had to instant result it. Chiesa missed it. I wasn't angry at him. I named my cat after Chiesa. Don't worry about it. I'm getting off topic. Not bitter. I'm not bitter. But overall, the matchday experience is really good. So then the bugs I can live with, and they've promised weekly updates. They've actually been good with communication to fix it. Yes, no game should come out buggy, but it's the reality we live in nowadays. The immersion's the key. The immersion is the killer of this game. I think if everybody took the time to, once you get past the learning of the new game and the UI, I think the immersion is the thing that people are going to miss most. More people are starting to talk about that rather than the bugs or the little mistakes that are made or the UI and whether that's difficult to learn or if it's just bad. Those conversations are dying down and people are going, hang on, I just don't feel connected to my team. I'm worried. I hope Football Manager have, in their minds, have got like a plan for this year, and every month or so we get some of these features back. Next month we get cup draws and we get other things coming back, and then the month after that, along with the bug fixes, we get a couple of other things. We do know that international management is coming back. That's great, and it's all licensed. That's great. They've talked about it being a free update. I think they could do. They would do their. It would be to their credit to just add back in those things. The worry is that they don't, and then suddenly next year FM27 comes out, and the big new feature is, oh, look at this 3D cup draw. I'm just using cup draws as a example, but there's obviously that big list of things that are missing. But I worry that that's not going to be coming. So if I'm reviewing this game, right? This game, if I had to give it a score, 6 out of 10. I feel like scores are kind of redundant. I've explained my sort of feelings about it, and everybody's going to feel differently about the different things. I think my absolute honest personal opinion is this is an amazing, absolutely amazing foundation to a game. And I can totally understand that some people want to buy a house, they don't want to buy a foundation, and that's why they're angry. Rightly so. I can totally get that. I'm of the obsessive, not just because I make YouTube videos on it, but I'm of the obsessive love for FM that I've put up over the course of 30 plus years. I've put up with some horrendous FMs and enjoyed every single one, despite itself sometimes. So there's enough here for me, personally, the way I play it, because I don't go too much into the data-heavy, data-driven stuff. I'm more likely to have fun with it and silliness, that I am still really enjoying it. But I can totally see why people are like, hang on, I'm buying like 3/4 of a version of an FM. And to those people, I would, you've already made your minds up, right? Whether you've refunded it or you've watched videos and you said, that's not for me. But if you are really into those things, that big list of things, then I would say leave it. Next year, I think, will be spectacular, because so many of those things should be back and it's got a good foundation. If you hate the UI, obviously you're kind of out already, But I would say Don't just play it for an hour and then go, I can't find where anything is. This UI is rubbish. I can't find where that thing is. Imagine yourself picking up this game for the very first time, Football Manager for the very first time. You're not going to know where everything was. If you picked up FM24 and that was your first F for FM, you're going to have those same problems, right? Where is that thing? God, okay, what is this screen? Okay, oh God, where am I? So at least take the time to learn, get through that barrier of learning a new UI. But again, I hope that Football Manager take this next year to constantly give us things back that they had in before. I don't mind if FM27 comes out, and I'm just going to use the cup drawers as an example. I'm not obsessed by cup drawers, by the way. It's just that's the one example that keeps coming to mind. If FM27 comes out and says, hey, we've got this brand new feature, the cup draw, but it was like massively different. You had people turning up, players from your squad or like random footballers and stuff, doing a proper 3D, proper draw, all fancy, pulling balls out of bowls and exciting things like that. Then I'd go, okay, that's cool, that's really good. But if you just next year reintroduce it and just and like almost have it as a feature that, we're bringing in cup draws. Like, no, that's just scummy because you had it and it's just you didn't have time to redo it for this game and now you're just doing it for the next one. I don't mind if they add those next year, but don't make them a new feature like you've look at us guys. Another little thing is obviously the shouts. Now, I've never really liked the in-game shouts. If you don't know what that is basically you could shout at your players to... Used to be able to do a cheeky calm concentrate, but they removed that because it was OP because I broke it. But like you can aggressively say, all sorts of things, right? And it didn't have much on in the game. Sometimes you see the little morale and they get happy or sad because you said the wrong thing. It was very much a gamified version because there was the right thing to say at all times. It wasn't a good thing. It was rubbish. And they removed it. But it feels like when I'm sitting there watching a game and I have absolutely, other than substitutes and changing the tactics, I have zero control. Even if I just can't tell my team they're shit, then I find that really annoying. I joked in a previous video that I wish they'd put shouts back in. They don't even have to connect them to the game. Just don't tell me they're not connected. Placebo me, I'm fine with that, because at least I've got a button to be angry at my players. There's so many little things like that, and that helps with the RPG. It helps with the immersion. There's so many little things. I hope, again... My final say, I think it's an amazing foundation of a game. I think the match day experience is a massive upgrade and will only get better. The UI for me is good and will get better. I'm fine with it now. I've learned how to mostly use it and find the things that I need. It's just the immersion's gone. In a big fat way, the immersion of the game has gone. The role-playingness of the game has been lost due to time constraints. Nothing else. Not console. Don't blame consoles. Not always console's fault. PC Master Race, though, obviously. But I hope that they introduce those things, because that's how they'll win people back. They've annoyed a lot of people with this release after a year's delay. And I hope that they can just go, next month, they just 10 things from that list. As well as bug fixes, bosh, those 10 things now, they're back in. So in 6 months' time, most of that list is already gone. There's a few that they might not reintroduce because they're actually redeveloping them and making them a ton better, just like international management's coming in the new year. Like, that would be fine. But as it stands now, if I'm talking to somebody that's not played Football Manager before and they're thinking about this being their first Football Manager, I'd say go for it. It's a perfect time to come in almost, because it's a new UI anyway, so you're going to have to learn it regardless, so that's fine. The features missing kind of make the game a bit more simple right now. If you think of all those features that are missing, all the things that were in FM24 that are missing, if you're a new player to the game, you don't miss what you didn't have, right? So you just come in, it's a little bit more simplified. The game runs really quick, by the way. Processing is spectacular. So I actually think it's a really good place to jump in as a new player. If I buy FM every year, then you've To be fair, you've probably already bought it. But I can see why you wouldn't this year. If you're one of those guys that occasionally buys, like they'll buy an FM every 3 or 4 years, they'll wait for something they really want to be included, and they go, actually, yeah, time to upgrade. I'd probably say no right now because it is still buggy. It misses all those features we talked about before. I think FM27 will be the one where you go, okay, time to swap over. It's time to upgrade. I genuinely think FM27 is going to be the one. It's not, and this is not through some, desperate hope. It just makes sense, right? Because I fully believe that this is a really good foundation. So if you're one of those, yeah, probably wait for a bit. Maybe wait until a sale and all the bugs have been fixed. That might be a time to dip your toes in. But yeah, that's my full review of Football Manager 26. It's a 6 out of 10 game. I hope. I'm saying it now. Okay, I'm just going to say it now. I'll do one for next year, and I'm predicting next year's score will be 9 out of 10 because I think we'll be used to the UI. The matchday experience is only going to get better. They'll have brought back all those things, or most of those things. Maybe some of them have been redesigned and they're better than they were before. And it'll be a spectacular game. In before it's delayed. Right, there we go. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. I'm about to start. I'm doing a Reading save at the moment, and then I'm going on to do my famous Journeyman save. And that'll be spectacular, where we manage in the most weird and wonderful leagues in the world with lots of databases added. I'm also doing a fundraiser because we run an animal charity from our house, and we're trying to build an outbuilding outside in the garden so we can rescue more cats and dogs. That all the links will be in there on Patreon and all the usual YouTubery stuff. But if you could leave a like, leave a comment, give me your review, give me your one paragraph, a score out of 10, and a singular paragraph of why you gave it that score. I genuinely, because I'm just a random dude. Yes, I have a YouTube channel, but I'm just a random dude, and that's my feelings. I think it's good for other people to watch this video to be able to go into the comments and see other, especially veterans of FMs or somebody that's brand new to FM and how they've got on. Like, give it a score below, like genuine score. Let's not just throw hate around or throw praise around. Give it your honest score and a little write-up. That'd be spectacular. I look forward to reading those. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.